today we have with us as a guest Pak Nurul Ichwan, the Deputy Minister from the BKPM. We are very much delighted to have you here, and we would like to talk about the policy of the new government. Pak Nurul, but we should start by let you introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you, Pak Yan. I am Nurul Ichwan, so I'm Deputy Minister for Investment and Promotions in the Ministry of Investment and Downstream Industry. And yeah, I am covering a very wide range of doing promotion. And the new, very interesting thing is also additional in the downstream industry promotion as well.
Yeah, that is a part of the government policy to increase and to improve that. We have seen the first in the old government, which was focusing on the downstream technologies, improvements of the minerals and steel production and mineral value added production for the battery industry. Now you're looking at other industries.
Yeah, we have actually set for these 28 commodities divided into 8 sectors that we would like to have more downstreamed for this. As nickel is a very good lesson learned for us, and we could consider that with this nickel, we have been successfully implemented of this kind of downstreaming industry. But when we think about having this kind of downstream industry, please bear in mind that we are not having a kind of too big hope that we have from the A to the Z of processing of this downstreaming to be happen in Indonesia. We just give a kind of the opportunity of working together between the capital owner and technological owner countries and investors to come together, utilizing the raw materials that we are having in these 8 sectors to be having involvement of the technology and capital, and also getting wider access globally into the global market. So because of this, nickel is only one. And we have also another 27 commodities that they would like to have. And it is not only in mining of the minerals or oil and gas. We have also those who are in the plantations, and also in fisheries, and also in the forestry as well. Like, let's say, when we talk about the blue economy, for example, then we would like to have more on the downstream industry coming from the seaweed, let's say, because we know that for the seaweed, we are the second biggest producer of this seaweed globally. But when you consider of the tropical seaweed, we are the biggest producer for this. But we see that technological interventions into this kind of commodity is still very limited. So that's why the result of this harvesting process is not that good. So then the carrageenan that could be utilized for the food industry, for the cosmetics industry, and also for the pharmaceutical is still in the very low grade. If we have then the technological owner and the capital owner, and also the access with the bigger market globally, then we know that Indonesia could play a significant role of supplying this kind of good products into the global demand.
And how does it work? How does foreign companies can participate? What is the role of BKPM in supporting that?
Yeah. The role of BKPM is giving and introducing also these opportunities. It is not only introducing this kind of commodities or sectors that we would like to be recognized by the potential investors, but we open up also an introductions and giving a kind of consultancy, and also assisting them running to phase by phase, started from, let's say, introducing them into the local potential business players that could be the potential partners for them, and then also developing the ecosystem that will be a nice and conducive situations for these businesses to be happen in Indonesia. And it is also included inside is assisting the local potential investors, even small and medium enterprises, to be a part of the ecosystem that we would like to have in Indonesia. One thing, Pak Yan, that we have to understand, that when we bring the spirit of downstreaming, it is also the spirit of making this ecosystem to be created, so then the ecosystem will create also competitiveness better than it used to be. So with having this kind of approach, we know that we are not only offering something, then the investor will just do it by themselves, but we are going to guide them and create the environment that is conducive for them. So then they are to be well guided by the government in this case. So Indonesia, with this investment coordinating board, with the Ministry of Investment and Downstream Industry, will be a kind of converting partner for any potential investor that will guide them step by step of course, not intervening into the technology and the capital that they are having. So then at least the input of these informations and data for them to decide whether or not they would like to continue of running the business in Indonesia is already well-handed and open-minded officers that could be complementary each other between the government and also potential investors.
Do you have some examples for or the best cases, practice cases already, which you can refer to, so to make this, let's say, more tangible for our viewers or listeners?
Yeah, that's a good example for the nickel, for example, because so far we are successful in this nickel as a one commodity, as kind of a starting point for us. So for this nickel, it used to be only a mining in Indonesia that we just export this as it is to the global demand. But I guess bringing the spirit of a contributor into the achievement of SDGs globally with those 17 goals, Indonesia should think about our own capacity, developing ourselves to have the capacity to support ourselves achieving those 17 goals in SDGs. And for this means that Indonesia must have our own capacity based on our richness of natural resources, that we don't want to have this richness of natural resources becoming a kind of curse into Indonesians. So because of this, then, we just would like to have a kind of a fair cooperations, win-to-win situations between Indonesians as the capital, as the resources owners with other investors coming from other countries, bringing their technology and also their capital. So then this Indonesians' richness with the comparative advantage that is rich in the natural resources should be on the stage of cooperations with the investor, that they are having technology, they are having capital, and they are having also access into more downstream products to the global market. So for this, we just would like to have only certain level of the development started from the raw materials into certain level of this. Like let's say for the nickel examples, we have been guided the investor started from the mining, having cooperations with the local miners and also local owners of this mining. And then they do this kind of smelting in Indonesia up to at least we have the MHP for this nickel. So then now the MHP of nickel of Indonesia is supplying a very dominant market globally. And by 2030, 2025, at least we know that with certainty that it is not less than 45% of the supply of this nickel, and especially for the EV batteries, is supplied by Indonesia nickel. So this is something that we have already been shown to them, how the investors coming to Indonesia and guiding them step by step into the downstream industry. And even we had the approach not only from up to the downstream, for this nickel is also from the upstream, from the downstream, like let's say EV manufacturing. We have a Korean investment in Indonesia for this EV manufacturing, right? And this could be also getting closer from the up and from the down, and they will make a kind of approach to create ecosystems. And finally, hopefully, there will be a kind of complete ecosystem that will create also a very reasonable cost of logistic and also other chains of these productions.
So far, for nickel, to stay with that example, these investments were mainly Chinese and Korean investments. I think Indonesia was quite successful before nickel was on the stainless steel production. Is there also other countries involved or companies from other countries?
Yeah, for this smelting especially, because we know that countries having this technology is very limited as well. First is, of course, China. And so far, we see that China is the most efficient smelting technology so far. Even though we know that in Europe, they have also some technologies for this smelter, like the one that is used by Freeport McMoran. They are using the smelting coming from Europe, right? And also from the Korea, for example. But so far, we see that the most efficient one is coming from the China. So then, the existence of this China investment, because they are having better competitiveness, they are coming to this smelting industry in Indonesia. But basically, we are open with this kind of smelting from any country. Like let's say when we talk about the smelting country owners coming from Europe, normally they will bring about more friendly into the environment as a kind of the spirit of European countries, right? And especially in the EU member countries. So this is also considered the technology that is less efficient but more friendly into the environment. So it is depending on the demand coming from the market. And when we talk about the market coming from the European countries, of course, you put also the friendliness into the environment, sustainability is higher above other than only the efficiency for this kind of thing. So that's why I see that the possibility of them to come to Indonesia, to have also their facilities in this kind of smeltering in Indonesia is still opening up for them. So we are currently also in a part of negotiations and facilitating some investors coming from European countries. Then they would like also their participations into utilizing this kind of nickel in Indonesia for EV batteries manufacturing in Europe.
Yeah. We talked about steel production. We talked about battery production. Also, these are normally quite high investments. So it's probably partners also on the Indonesian side, mainly state-owned enterprises. Do you have other sectors or like categories of partnerships you think which is more for, let's say, medium-sized or smaller-sized partnerships?
Yeah. Still bringing into the spirit of creating ecosystems. When we talk about ecosystems, it is not the ecosystem dominated only by big industries.
Yeah.
No, because the spirit of bringing inclusiveness of this investment has started during the period of Pak Presiden Joko Widodo that is carried forward by current administrations Prabowo. Because the big countries like Indonesia having a very big populations, it is a very, very significant effort coming from the government of providing prosperity to the people by creating more jobs. And job creations itself, it doesn't mean that should be provided by big companies opening up of the businesses in Indonesia and also opening up job opportunities to them. But we would like to have these small and medium enterprises as a part of the ecosystem of industries that could be a kind of suppliers or services provider for these big industries. So then they could be also creating job opportunities by themselves. Because we see that for the small and medium enterprises, they have bigger capacities in providing job opportunities, and especially for those the manpower which is having not that high level of skills, but they could be also employed into this ecosystem that finally will provide this kind of services or productions to be a kind of supply to the big industry. So because of this, we see that even though it is only small and medium enterprises in Indonesia as a part of this ecosystem, we would like to have the situations that the small and medium enterprises should be also well equipped and well educated to be high scale in their skill. So that's why then a capacity building for small and medium enterprises in Indonesia is also the key point for us. And this could be then invited and to be intervened by the small and medium enterprises from Germany to have these cooperations with small and medium enterprises in Indonesia. And when we talk about this capacity and size of small and medium enterprises in Indonesia, I think even though in Indonesia it is qualified as a kind of small and medium enterprises, and in Germany it is also small and medium enterprises, when we bring these small and medium enterprises from Germany into Indonesia, I'm sure that the capacity is beyond already the small enterprises in Indonesia. So meaning that they could come to join this foreign direct investment in Indonesia, working together with small and medium enterprises in Indonesia.
What can we, working for a chamber, what can we do as a chamber, foreign chamber, German chamber?
Oh, yeah, that should be a very great role. But even we know that when we talk about, let's say, connecting the enterprises, be it small, medium, or big investors from Germany to come to Indonesia, we know that German will trust the German entrepreneurs to get the objective of the situations in Indonesia. So in this case, I should say that the effectiveness of communications between the government of Indonesia to the potential partners or the potential market of investors in Germany, it will be much more efficient and effective if it is done through the chambers of commerce. So in this case, that the interface agent between Indonesia's government and Indonesia's business player side, and also the business players in Germany, will be played very significantly and in a very great role is by the chambers of commerce like Econin. So that's why we have a very big expectations of interface role that could be done by Econin and chambers of commerce like AHK or IHK.
I hope we can fill that role and that expectation.
Right.
Just maybe a final question in regard to the companies, the partnerships. What do you think? What Indonesia does offer to a German or European medium-sized companies in terms of securing, or even in terms of incentives for investing or like getting into a partnership with an Indonesian company?
Yeah. When we talk about this incentive, it should be matched with, let's say, the objective of this incentive supporting to the industries, right? And of course, at the end of the day, this should be also closely related into opening up the job that will create also prosperity to the people of Indonesia. That finally that will increase also purchasing power. That will contribute into a good economics growth as well in Indonesia. And for this, when we talk about providing these incentives, it is close as well into the sectors that we would like to have more ecosystems in Indonesia. And this ecosystem, among others, is also to support an increasing of capacity and skills of manpower in Indonesia, and also innovations in Indonesia. So for these two things, between increasing the capacity of the manpower and also having the innovations, including research and development, is on top of the priority of the government. And because of this, then the government has already issued the incentive that is called by super tax deduction.
Okay.
That is dedicated for the training and then also for research and development. The training, if you have this training and also including vocational training in Indonesia, then the government has already issued the incentive of up to 200% of the total costs that the company spends for this kind of training. That finally, this 200% maximum could be utilized to deduct your corporate income before being taxed.
Okay.
So the tax basis will be lower than the reality of your corporate income. And for the research and development, this could be also given up to 300% even from the costs that you spend for this research and development. So this 300% will be utilized to deduct your corporate income before being taxed. But for this research and development, the mass that could be achieved by the company is at least 100% of the cost. The balance of 200, this could be distributed into certain years based on the requirement that is given by the government. Among others is knowing that the innovations product is also introduced into the market. And then also you got also the pattern of this product, and you work together with Indonesian institutions as well. So then just would like to make sure that there is a kind of a cooperation between the research and development coming from Germany with Indonesian institutions in order to support the demand coming to Indonesian market with a good quality because of these innovations. So this kind of thing that we produce by the government to create a good incentive as a kind of sweetener to introduce them and to attract them to come to Indonesia for this investment.
And do the companies have to deal, because we have with the new government, we have so many new ministries.
Yeah.
So who do they deal with? They have to deal with all the 54, or how many ministries they have? Or is BKPM still acting as a one-stop service counterpart?
Right. In general, in terms of the licensing, yes, it is still in online single submissions. And for these online single submissions, we know that it is not perfect yet, but we make a kind of betterment day by day, time by time for this. And we know that we evaluated that for the steps of getting the license, sometimes it is also required by having like a kind of recommendations coming from the line ministries, right? And we see that getting these recommendations and other licenses from the line ministries was taking very long time. So we just would like to make a kind of a better services with a very certain time limitations in service level agreement as well that we are having. So then we come with a kind of fictive positive, meaning that we just give this kind of time limitations of the process of issuing these recommendations or the licenses coming from the line ministries. If they are having without any comment or some additional should be completed by the investors, then we are going automatically to issue this kind of recommendations or license from the OSS. But back again into these incentives, then we see and we heard from many news lately that President Prabowo will introduce an institutions that will be having responsibility of taking care of the revenue to the government, right? So this will be separated into dedicated ministries or whatever the body or the institutions that will take care of this kind of thing. So this is also something that our ministry will be working very closely, because we have this kind of, let's say, tax incentive and then tax holiday and those kind of things to be introduced to the investors. So in this case, we are going to be in a good connectivity with them and also work together, of course, with the Ministry of Finance as well, in order to work for the super tax deductions. Because only for the super tax deductions that the Ministry of Investment is not issuing this kind of license. For tax holiday, yes, we issue this kind of license, and also for the importations of goods and also materials, it is also under our institutions. But for the super tax deductions, it is up until now still under Ministry of Finance. But we are in very close coordinations with them.
Yeah, but no, one more question. The new president described as his aim that he would like Indonesia to achieve a growth of 8% per year, which is quite an ambitious aim to reach. Yeah, we have seen that in countries like China and maybe India, but Indonesia was more between 5 and 6% in the last decades, 2 decades, yeah, very constantly positive growth. But how do we get, or how do you plan that Indonesia can get to 8%? What is the role, for example, BKPM can do, or in general the government is aiming at?
Yeah, that's bring me back into the event around a month ago. All of the government officials from the regional government up to the central government, and also both from the police and also from the military background institutions as well. We were gathered in Hambalang and had a kind of directions or guidance coming from our president, Pak Prabowo Subianto. So he pointed out as well the concern of the growth of 8%. He himself even realized that 8% is very high and very ambitious. But this should be understood as a kind of spirit that should be absorbed and setting the mindset of the government as the state administrations, from the regional government up to the central government. When we talk about target, we have to put this target very high.
Yeah.
Because when we could achieve this target, then it is good. But if not, if it is less than the target, at least it is not too low from the target that is set by the president. A good example is also the target that we got during the period of President Joko Widodo up until this year, even to 2024, that the target of investment realizations in Indonesia is much more higher than the planning target by ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we were forced to reach the higher target, eventually we could show that we could reach it.
Yeah.
So Pak President Joko Widodo knew that actually we have the potentials of capacity to reach this kind of thing, as long as the governance is well implemented on the ground. Meaning that we have already learned about the capacity based on the formal report about the growth of economy of Indonesia, which is in average about 5%. But we know as well that the fuel of the economy that could be contributed by the real capital that we are having to be implemented and to be pouring out into the market is actually not in the maximum capacity. Why? Because we know that the challenge that we face so far, like let's say for the online gambling, which is illegal in Indonesia, but then finally we see from the transactions of this online gambling that the amount is amazing. It's around 981 trillion rupiahs for this kind of thing. And that's why in the media, that was also seen and heard that the capacity of middle income class of Indonesia in the spending is lower than before. And it is actually because the interventions of these online transactions
Okay.
that we have our foreign exchange flight to other countries. It's huge,
Yeah.
981 trillion rupiahs. Could you imagine if this could be utilized into our economy?
Yeah.
The contributions will be very significant. And the second one is the leakage in our spending of our state budget and also regional budget, which is still inefficient, meaning that some of mismanagement, ungovernance way of utilizing this budget is not there. So the leakage is also very significant, around 17 billion US dollars for this kind of thing. And illegal mining, it is a part of the upstream for this downstream industry. We still have this illegal mining that is created unimaginable. There's around 7 billion US dollars of this kind of illegal mining. If this combined value then could be contributed into the next development of our economy, followed by additional of added value creations in downstream industry, this will create also a very cute contribution. So then 8% will be not imaginable, not unimaginable, but it is achievable possibly. But then, yes, the homework is very significantly great for us as well. In this case, we have to make a kind of a governance in managing our assets, managing our capital as well. And at the same time, when we talk about this kind of growth, it means that we have to talk about something in relations to economic growth is equals to increase of productivity. And when we talk about this productivity, it is also equals into the combinations between quality of workers, capital, and then also innovations. So in this kind of thing, we see that Indonesia should be working together with countries having this kind of innovations, technology, and also market globally, like European Union countries there. And of course, Germany is a kind of the main players in this EU economy. So in this case, we see that this growth is achievable if the governance in managing our budget and also governance in implementing rule and regulations in Indonesia combine with the collaborations with countries that will support Indonesia of having this quality workforce and also capital and innovations combined together will be the infrastructures, quote unquote, for our growth of economy. So this is something should be well understood by the management in the regional and central government of Indonesia, and also by the industrial associations and also institutions for education. Because in this case, there will not be any growth sufficiently in order to path Indonesia into 2045 Indonesia goal without any interventions in the increasement of quality of manpower through educations that we could create this through this triple helix between universities or manpower development capacity and also the industry as a demand for this kind of manpower, and also government that should create also the sound climate for this triple helix in Indonesia. So this will be the guidance for the next investment that could be supported by the manpower capacity, by the education's capacity, by the capacity of the capital as well, and also innovations that will be combinations between technology and qualified manpower in order to answer some challenge in the future for Indonesia's economic growth.
Yeah.
Yes, Pak Ian, I guess I am also curious knowing about how would be the feeling of the investors coming from Germany, from the facilitations or the service provided by our government. We know that we've been trying the best we can do for investor, but of course, Econit know much more better than we do when it is coming into the reality, whether or not the investor coming from Germany is well facilitated and having a very good channel or well, facilitated in terms of having, let's say, communication, suggestions, this kind of thing. We would like to hear this kind of thing from your side, so then we could make a betterment in our services. But
yeah, also from our experience, or my experience here with the German companies, I think Indonesia is progressing well. We had, let's say, on the regulatory side with the omnibus law, I think we had a very big step forward in terms of making it easier for companies, that there are very few, if any, restrictions in terms of owning your own companies if you want to invest here, or restricting in which areas you can be active, which was before sometimes a little bit complicated, I would say, and not always very transparent where the shareholdership percentages came from. So this is all now done into 100% shareholders, and you can own your company 100% as a foreign investor. You can be basically active in almost every sector now. That is a big step forward. The OSS you mentioned is a step forward. The window, and as you said, of course, no system is perfect from the beginning, but it's improving, and it's working from our experience quite well. And if it's not working well, okay, it takes some time, but there's willingness to be flexible. I think that is also fine. There is, of course, one downside is a little bit the increasement of the minimum capital, which was tripled from 200,000 to 600,000. That's quite a big amount of investment required for a medium-sized company. So that would be something if there is some flexibility in reducing that. But I think all in all, there is a way forward, and especially as the government, as you mentioned, in certain areas provides incentives now. Yeah, that is something, and more active involvement in terms of also making sure that infrastructure is there. Yeah, that is very important, because that's where Indonesia is in competition with a lot of other countries. But I would say, from my observation, it has been improved quite significantly. Yeah. But one point is still the high minimum capital requirement, because it's a little bit against the worldwide trend, because everywhere it's getting cheaper, and here it got quite expensive to invest.
Right. Yes, thank you, Pak. So at least this kind of information will be a good input for us, because we know that whatever the betterment that we are doing, it should be well communicated into the real actors on the ground. And I think this kind of communication should be maintained in the future, so then the government know that whatever the policy coming from the government side should be reflecting into the response coming from the investors. And I guess in this case, we would like to request to the ECONIT, please play that role significantly and objectively, so then the government will have a kind of partners, as a kind of party that will sound the interest coming from the potential investor from Germany. And in this case, we just would like to find the situations that whatever the policy that we provide to regulate the level playing field for the investors is on the right level of global implementation, so then Indonesia could be having a kind of good competitiveness compared to other competitor countries, so then we could be together successfully provide the prosperity for Indonesia and also for investors coming from Germany.
Thank you very much for elaborating on the policy and the focus of the new government, or the continuation of the government policy in Indonesia. We appreciate your coming here, talking to us and talking to our audience. Thank you very much, Pak Nurul.
Thank you, Bayan. Thank you for having me with you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. We hope that you had an interesting session. And yeah, please visit our website, and please do not hesitate to contact us and give us any feedback. Yeah, and one more time, thank you, Pak Nurul.
You're welcome, Pak.
Bye-bye.
Bye.